God, my throat is dry as hell. I've had my voice lost for like, I lost my voice for a week. This is like the first day I sound like more normal. It is still a little scratchy, but it is what it is. What am I gonna do? My goal, one of my main goals this year is 2025 is the year of no new books. No, we're not buying new books at all. I tried to do this last year and I failed. Listen, we can be honest, I failed. I think last year I bought anywhere between 15 to 25 new books. And I'd like to think that that's not a lot. And for me, that's not a lot of new books to buy. But 25 books is a lot of books to buy and to not have read them all in the same year. That's nuts. That's actually, it's not nuts. I just, girl, what the heck? Okay. All right. So there are two exceptions to this. One, I get gifted a book. I'm not going to say no to a gifted book. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to say no to a gifted book. Number two, I can read books that I don't own, but I have to use the library like a normal freaking human. Okay, let's talk about the stats. I own 253 books that I have not read. That's a lot. I'm not even gonna downplay that. That is a lot of books. And listen, I think that these books have been collected over the past 15 years of my life, okay? I was a kid who read all the time. I read constantly. I read a book a day when I was a kid, when I was in elementary, junior high, high school, okay? And then I went off to college and I got a few degrees in English literature, okay? I really love. Did that just age me? This is easier on the hands than this. Okay. I love to read, okay? I'm not ashamed of it. But I think, the pace at which I read is very, very different from when I was a kid. When I got to college and I started reading for all my classes, it not only becomes a thing of pleasure, but it becomes a thing of work. Like, those reading is work, and it has and will always be some type of work. And yeah, so I think my pace just slowed down, but in my head, I am the kid who can read a book a day. And I do spiritually feel that, and I think I could still do that if I didn't have other life responsibilities. So what I am going to try to do is kind of rethink my habit of buying books. We're going to try to cool that down. We're going to try to not buy books. We're going to rethink them. And in order to do this, I have like two main things I'm going to do to hold myself accountable. One, try to read one book a week. So that's 52 books in a year. I think that is definitely manageable for me if I prioritize it. I plan on reading one book a week, okay? I think that is a manageable goal for myself. Also, if I read 52 books, that's like a fifth of the books that I currently own, right? Like, I need to shop what I own, I need to do that. So that's number one. I'm going to read one book a week. If I can read more, great. That's fantastic. I have several plays. I own like 15 plays. I could definitely read those in a day. So like maybe more, but I feel like a play, I have to be more in the mood. For that, I should say I want to read 52 new books because I am a chronic rereader, okay? I love to reread a book. I think rereading books is good for us. It's good for our brains. It's good for a lot of things. I think it's just good emotionally and spiritually. So I reread my books. Also, that's how I get my money's worth. Why buy a book and not reread it? Kind of weird. So I'm a rereader, so I should preface by saying I want to read 52 new books, new to me, because some of the books are old. You'll see. So that's not one thing. Another thing I'm going to do a monthly wrapped. I'm going to do a monthly wrapped reading. A reading wrap? What the fuck are they calling it these days? At the end of the month, I'm going to say this is what I read. See? You know? Okay. So, reading wrapped. Okay. 52 books. New books. 2 monthly wrapped. What I read. All that jazz. 3. I need to not be afraid to DNF a book. Okay? Because for me, reading operates on this like spectrum of pleasure and also a necessity, right? Like I do think reading is a luxury in some ways. Like to have the time and space to read books is a luxury. I also think it is a necessity to be a human. I think you do have to read to become a better human. I believe that you have to read to learn. You know, I just think that that is just like something that's essential to humanity. So it kind of operates on both sides. So all that to say, I think I need to be better at DNFing books because I think reading is allowed to be hard. Like books are allowed to be difficult to struggle through. Like that is some of the beauty and reward of reading a hard book. However, I do think there are things and times where like you don't like the book. Like you just know you don't like the book, so I'm going to DNF it and then I'm going to donate it. I'll collect those books and see what they are and do it at the end of the year or some shit like that. Cuz I know out of those 250, especially if I bought them 15 years ago, like my thoughts and reasonings for reading those 15 years ago and now are very different. My tastes have changed. Good, we love growth. But yeah, so we need to DNF some books, and that's also okay. We have to accept defeat in certain ways. So yeah, that's kind of the goal. That's the plan. I also wanted to show you because in order to like do this video, I had to like go through all my books. Insert montage here. Yeah, so I counted everything. And you know, I was able to reflect, really think about the books that I had already owned. And basically, I pulled out like the top 10 and a few honorable mentions of the books I am most excited to read, which I think is a good thing. You should always reflect on the books you want to read, all the books you want to read, not watch. Use your words correctly. And so these are the books I'm most excited to read. Now, I will note, like I said earlier, I think I said it, because I got my degrees in English. When I was younger, I used to read one book at a time. Like in high school, elementary, junior high, all that stuff, I used to read one book at a time. And when I got to college, that was not possible. When you're reading for 4 to 5 different lit classes, you're reading 4 to 5 different books, supplemental readings at the same time. And I actually thought that was a good thing. It made me slow down, made me appreciate the books. You go here, you go there, you get a little bit of everything. And I still, like a charcuterie of reading. I still believe in doing that, which means I'm still currently in the process of reading 10 books. I'm in the middle of 10 books. They're all those books up here. And then I have 2 over there and another book in a different bag. I'm in the middle of reading like 15 other books or whatever it is. So these are not like the books I'm going to start with because like I cannot add to that list. I think like up to 5 or 6 is like a good amount. Like I could definitely rotate between 5 or 6. But 15's like a lot. Like there's a book up there that I've been reading since 2020. And I'll read like a page or 2, put it back, read a page or 2. I'm going to try to finish it actually before the end of this year. There's like, what day is it? December 29th. I have 2 days. 3 days actually, if I count. 2.5 days, fine, whatever, to finish that book. So, fingers crossed. Anyways, these are the books I'm excited to read. We're gonna start with, okay, what are we gonna start? This one. Every time I look at this book, I'm so stoked to read it, and I still have not read one page of it. This is Thick. and Other Essays by Tressie McMillan Cotton. I love this woman's TikTok. I love her takes. I love everything I've read by her. And when this came out, I was super excited. And every time I see it on my bookshelf, I'm very happy and proud to own this. But I haven't read it. So this is a priority. This is one of my priorities. Another one. This is a book I feel like I should have read. I teach night classes sometimes as like the English 1A classes, like the English 101 classes, you know, intro to lit classes sometimes. And like, I feel like this is a book a lot of people in academia have read, but I have never read it. I may have read an excerpt when I was younger, but I don't remember reading an excerpt. And it's John Berger's Ways of Seeing. This book is literally like 70 something pages. Like, I can read this in like maybe like 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. I haven't read it, so like maybe the writing's difficult. I don't know yet. But I feel like this is like a book I feel like I should have read. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to read it. This one, Bora Chung's Cursed Bunny and Other Stories. This is a short story collection, I believe. Yeah, I believe. I'm currently actually writing a short story collection, and so when I heard about this book and the themes this book deals with, or this collection deals with, I was intrigued because mine fall in a similar line and vein. And like, they probably wrote it better. Well, like, we shouldn't be comparing. We don't know if it's better. But the thing is I feel like I want to read it. I want to read it. No regrets. I want to read it. Okay, Julia. This is a retelling of 1984. I think before I read this, I need to reread 1984. I remember it basically. I think I've read 1984 like twice, but it's at least been 5 years. When was Trump elected the first time? Okay, it's been more than 5 years. And so I want to reread it and then read this because this is from Julia's perspective. And I think that's a great concept, a great idea. I want to read it. Another book very similar in that similar vein is Mona Awad's All's Well. Okay, I'm gonna have to read Shakespeare's All's Well That Ends Well. I think that's like, it's a comedy. I think I've read it in high school or when I was younger. I definitely didn't read it before high school, but I was probably in high school. I read excerpts because I took a few Shakespeare classes in college. I love Shakespeare, by the way. I do love Shakespeare. But like mostly we read like the tragedies or the histories. I read like one comedy, which is like Taming of the Shrew. A good one, obviously. But I didn't read All's Well That Ends Well. So I think I'm gonna read that and then this and see how they're connected, because apparently they are. So I need the context. This is also my problem. I'll like buy books that are like in yeah, so okay, this book is kind of like embarrassing to say because I feel like I should have read it. Okay, I should have read this book, but I have not read this book. And like, I don't want any judgment. You can judge, it's fine, I don't care. It's Beloved by Toni Morrison. So I've read Toni Morrison always in excerpts. I've never read a full Toni Morrison book. Is that embarrassing to admit with someone with 3 English degrees? Yeah. The only excuse I have is I think I fuck so heavy with world and British lit that I never took American lit. Like when they let you pick I took an American lit class, but it wasn't like, I think it was like pre-America stuff, which was good too. I didn't mind that class at all. But like, I haven't, so it's a priority because like I'm ashamed that I haven't read this. Let's see what's next. Oh, another one. Virginia Woolf's Orlando. Okay, I read A Room of One's Own when I was like in high school. I read it again in undergrad, and then I read it again in grad school. I love Virginia Woolf's writing, and I like decided I wanted to read everything that she's ever wrote. So I like, got them all thrifted. I found all the books. Shout out to dead authors because their books are everywhere. Just like wait long enough, you'll manifest that shit. So I have like a lot of her books, but Orlando, the plot and concept draw me more than like Mrs. Dalloway, even though I feel like I should probably start with Mrs. Dalloway, but I'm gonna read Orlando. Or I want to read Orlando first. We'll see what I actually choose first. Oh, next is Susan Sontag's On Photography. I got this on my birthday last year. Last year I went on a book crawl for my birthday by myself. I organized it by myself. And I went to like all the bookstores in LA I've wanted to go to, and I like allowed myself to buy a book from each store. This one was from A Good Used Book. I was so happy to have this. I think this is the book that she defines camp. I'm not really sure. I've read excerpts. You know, a shout out to English teachers who just will scan copies of their books, but like, I want the full damn thing, you know? Another reason that's like, really drew me, like I said, I teach writing classes sometimes, and a lot of times I'll teach like, Plato's Allegory of the Cave. And it's like, it's not the best thing, but I think it does like set the tone of the class. Like, okay, we're here to learn new things. You might feel uncomfortable. It might be, yeah, you know, all that stuff. But I noticed that the first thing is in Plato's Cave, and I have not read that. I don't think I've read that. And I feel like this would be really good supplemental. Like I can do both and kind of see and critique. I think that would be fun. I don't know when I'm teaching another writing class soon. I've like taken a little bit of a pause on that this year. But I hope to read that and then assign that if it's good, which I think it's going to be good. Another book I found on my little book crawl is My Belly, Exploring Why It's Hard for Women to Love Their Bodies by Hilde Ostby. This is a book that really just got me with the title. You know, great. I want to know, I have a like complicated relationship with my belly. Let's talk about it. I think that's a good thing. I'm actually really sad if this is not good. But this is, I think it will be. Why wouldn't it be? I always go into books with like the best, with high expectations. Like I think I'm gonna love it. And usually I do. Maybe I just have good taste. Maybe more people are better writers than we think. I don't know. This is also only 133 pages, so this is very doable in a day. And lastly, I got this literally last night from my Secret Santa. Thank you, Eunice and Oscar. You guys are real ones for following that wish list. Mostly Dead Things by Kristen, Arnett. Yeah. I think the concept of this is hilarious. It is like supposed to be like a satire-ish dark comedy kind of thing. It's about this woman whose father owns like a taxidermy business. Just right there, I think you might have got me. And I feel like that's a little unusual, but and then he commits suicide. Okay. And then I think she has to take over or something like that, or deal with like the aftermath repercussions of not only her father's suicide, but the fact that he owns mostly dead things. Concept is great. Hope the execution is as well. Okay. Additionally, I have like 4 honorable mentions. You Exist Too Much. I've heard good things about this. It's a novel. But I feel like I've heard a lot of good things, so I'm intrigued by this. And I haven't read a lot of, I think Zaina Arafat is, I hope I said their name right. I feel really bad if I didn't. I need to look up names first. Yeah, she's a Palestinian American writer, and I don't think I've read any Palestinian American writers, and that was something that has been like stark when I look at my bookshelves. I should do like a little like, these are the books I have thing, you know, and because I have an English background, there's a lot of classics I own that I feel like I should read. So a lot of my bookshelf is white and dead, and it's not really the moment, really. So that I'm excited for. This one, Moan, Anonymous Essays on Female Orgasm. I stick by that. I think the title says, I think it's a lot with the titles. There's a pattern here. So I'm excited. Another honorable mention, Why Did Saragasso See? Like by Jean Rhys. This is also like this is like an extension of Jane Eyre, essentially. So I'm gonna have to read Jane Eyre again and then read this. This is from the perspective, spoiler alert. This is a perspective of the woman in the attic, the wife. Hope I didn't spoil that for you. You know, like, people might be like assholes and be like, oh, well, it's been out for like, what, 200 years, whatever, long as, so what? Don't spoil shit. I hate that. Pet peeve. Big pet peeve. Don't spoil shit. At least give a warning. God. Anyways, I'm gonna have to reread Jane Eyre. And this is also why I got this, because it'll force me to reread Jane Eyre. When I read Jane Eyre, I do fuck with the Brontes. But I didn't really fuck with Jane Eyre. But I feel like I need to give it another try. I'm older now. I'm more mature. Will that make it better? I don't know. But I'm gonna read it. So, and then I'll read this. And lastly, a little fun fact about me, I love historical romance. Actually, the only romance I read is historical. Why? We'll unpack that later. I love historical romance. And more specifically, I love good historical romance. Maybe I should do my favorite historical romances. I at least have a top 10. And they're not Bridgerton. Although, like, I think the adaptations of Bridgerton weren't bad. There's obviously problems with it, but, like, I don't think they're bad. I think they're better than the books. I'd rather watch the show than reread the books, 100%. That's a different tangent. Anyways, I saw this again on my bookshop book crawl. I think this must have been from the Ripped Bodice in LA. I don't know where in LA. Wherever the Ripped Bodice is in LA, that's where I was, okay? Because I know I got it there. Mad and Bad Real Heroines of Regency. Love the era. Why not read about real people, you know? Why not? And it sounds fun, you know? It's like a fun little read. So yeah. That's my, like, no new books for 2025. We'll see how it goes. I don't think I'm gonna buy books. I'm, like, really annoyed at myself for having, like, this whole shelf is books I've bought with the intention to read, and I haven't read them. God, you'd think that someone with an English degree, I'd be able to speak better, but oh well. It was a crazy shirt to wear for my first video, but it is what it is. All right. Bye.